So when I first posted this talk title on Facebook earlier this week, someone very innocently wrote back and said, "Did you know there's a song by that name? It's by the Beatles." And I was like, yes, I know that. Everyone in my generation certainly knows and loves that song. I guess it'll teach me to use song lyrics for talk titles, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I chose it was because of an experience that I had when I was in Toronto last week, attending the Canadian New Thought Conference. Now, what I want to tell you is the conference was wonderful. It was absolutely fabulous. And I'm pleased to announce that we will be hosting the Canadian New Thought Conference next year. Jean Houston as our keynote speaker. I have more details for you, but mark your calendars, June 3rd to 5th here in Calgary, okay? So you've all heard this quote by Emerson, right? Life is a journey, not a destination. Of course, he's not the only one who said it. In my researching of it, I found dozens of variations on that theme. And what it basically means is that the experiences that we have on our path in life, the wisdom that we gain as we're having those experiences, are actually more valuable to us than the places that we think we're going. It means that who we become as we're traveling on our path is actually the point. It's not getting to the goal or the destination itself. Now, I realize that this kind of flies in the face of motivational speakers and coaches who are encouraging us to determine what our goals are and work tirelessly to attaining them. It's a health goal or a relationship goal or a physical goal. We're told to keep our eye on the prize, right? Never deviate from the path. And there's lots of value to that. I get that. Because when we're working towards success, whatever that is, when we're trying to achieve our goals, it teaches us discipline and focus and drive. I'm all for that. The challenge is that often life shows up and knocks us off our path. Anybody but me ever experienced that? Maybe I should say instead, anybody not experienced that, then you can come up here and teach this. How we handle that unexpected event or those circumstances is equally as important as the goal, because it allows for growth, mental, spiritual, emotional growth. Because how we deal with those times helps determine who we are becoming. Is this making sense to you? How we deal with those curveballs, how we deal with those things that happen while we're going toward our goal. That is the goal. The bottom line is life is not a straight line. It is a long and winding road. Everybody sing. And winding road. See, it's a generational thing. Here's what Lily Tomlin said. The road to success is always under construction. Right? Yeah. So I want to tell you about this experience that I had last week in Toronto that brought about this talk, because I'm telling you folks, it does all of us good for me to go away on trips. Because I get very inspired and I come up with all kinds of great ideas and inspiration. So what I want to tell you first of all is that putting on the Toronto conference was not without its challenges. Not only did they not get the registrations that they had planned on, they actually had to change venues 3 times, including the final one a week before the conference started. The first place they booked didn't work out for whatever reason, I don't know what it was. The second place they booked ended up being way too expensive because the registrations weren't meeting the expectations. Talk about a long and winding and very scary road. Because when you commit to things, it's kind of like, you know, right? And the venue that they ended up with was in an old historic church right in the heart of downtown Toronto. and it was absolutely perfect. It wasn't what they had originally planned on, because they wanted this huge, splashy, state-of-the-art event. And what they got instead was a sweet and sacred and heart-opening experience for everyone. So even though the goal wasn't reached, the journey, with all of its twists and turns and uncertainties, led to this wonderfully intimate and memorable event. Oh, our hearts were so open from being there. Here's what Amit Ray said: life is not always perfect. Like a road, it has many bends, ups and downs, but that's its beauty. So outside the church was a stone labyrinth, modeled after the famous one from the Chartres Cathedral in France. How many of you, raise your hand if you're familiar with labyrinths? You're going to become very familiar with labyrinths after today. They become very popular in spiritual circles, mostly because they represent exactly what I'm talking about today, and that is this kind of circuitous path of life. Here are some samples of the labyrinth in Chartres. So this is taken looking down at the labyrinth, but you can see what the shape is, and those brown things on the side are chairs of people who are having the labyrinth experience. And here's another shot of it where you can kind of see what the pattern is, okay? And as you can see, it looks kind of like a maze, right? With lots of twists and turns. You're actually walking on that path when you do a labyrinth. And the purpose, I guess, or the goal of the labyrinth is to do it in sacredness and silence, and while you're doing it, to reflect on your life. You can also take with you and walk with a question that you'd like an answer to, because something about the process of walking on this ancient pattern allows you to access your inner wisdom. I love what Marcel Proust said. He said, we don't receive wisdom. We must discover it for ourselves after a journey that no one can take for us or spare us. We don't receive wisdom. We must discover it for ourselves after a journey that no one can take for us or spare us. For me, that's what happens when I walk on a labyrinth. I've used it many times. I've walked a labyrinth many, many different times. I've used it for clarity and wisdom, comfort when I'm feeling kind of sad about something, decision making. It is a powerful spiritual tool. So I need to take a slight detour. Get it? Get the reference? Long winding road detour? Okay. I need to bring another layer into my story here. Some of you know I recently sold my house in Southern California. I had held on to it to make sure that this was the right place for me to be, and after 2 years I decided it was time to let it go, so I put it on the market. And at first it appeared that the sale was going amazingly well. I got a really nice offer just a couple days after it had been on the market, and one of the things that I really prayed for was that the people who were buying the house would love it like I did, because it was a little unusual. It had some unusual features to it. And these people, when they came to see it, they were like, we love this house, we want this house. Oh, I was so happy they loved it. Easy peasy, right? Except it wasn't. There were glitches and delays along the way. For instance, the termite inspection. We don't worry about termites too much here, but in California, termites are a problem, right? So the termite inspection revealed more problems than I had known about. And they had made some repair demands that I hadn't been expecting. And then my tenant had decided that she wanted to move out before her lease was done, with my permission, because I thought it was going to help the buyers. They could get in earlier, right? But they were kind of upset because then they didn't get that month's rent that they were planning on getting, because there was supposed to be a tenant in there, so I had to pay that extra month's rent. Okay, so anyway, it was not a straight shot, okay? It was a long and winding road. More on that in a minute. I promise I'm going to tie this in together. You know me, right? I do that. Okay. So, now back to the Toronto conference. The event at the Toronto, one of the events was the opportunity to walk on the labyrinth, right? I planned to do it, absolutely. It was on my list of things I was going to do at the conference. However, walking down the street of Toronto, Toronto is a very happening place, I'm sorry. It's just always got stuff going on. Am I saying that to the wrong crowd? Yeah, I know, I'm sorry, it's cool. I don't want to live there, but it was cool. Anyway, so I'm on my way down to the labyrinth, right? And I get a phone call from my realtor in Southern California saying that there were more glitches that were going on with the sale having to do with the buyer's funding. Now, I want you to keep in mind that the phone call came on the day that the house was supposed to close escrow, which is an American term for the sale being complete. So he's telling me on the day that the sale's supposed to be complete that there's an issue. A little more than a little concerned, but you know, there's nothing I can do about it from Toronto, right? Nothing I can do physically about it from Toronto. So I decided to go ahead and continue with my plan of walking on the labyrinth and use that experience to keep myself calm and peaceful and centered. So here's a picture of the labyrinth that we walked on, and you can see me in the bright blue pants. I'm nothing if not colorful. And the way that a labyrinth workshop is done is that people enter onto the pathway one by one, leaving a little space before the person in front of you. So it's like, okay, you go, and then a few steps later, okay, you go, that type thing. And one of the beautiful things about walking on a labyrinth is that it really, really is a metaphor for life. Because there are times when there's lots of people around you and it's kind of crowded on the path, right? And there are other times when you're over on this side of the pattern and there's nobody around you. It's very, very metaphorical. And the path eventually takes you into the center, which is kind of a flower shape. And the purpose is to sit there and pray or meditate or contemplate things. And then when you're ready, when you feel complete, then you kind of make your way out. So it's very common to have the people who have gone before you, by many people, right? They're coming back on the same path as you're going. So you can run in a little bit like this, right? And when that happens, you're just supposed to move to the side and allow the person to pass by and then get back on the walk and continue your contemplative walk. So I want you to think about the metaphor there. Instead of getting frustrated because someone on their path coming their way is in your way on your path, right? And what are you supposed to do? And you know how you're like, oh, you're in my way, and okay, yeah. Am I the only one? Okay. In this case, you just move to the side and allow them to pass, or they move to the side as you proceed forward. Wow, what a metaphor. What an idea. Working together. And as you're going along on this, you're encouraged to go at your own pace. And then if the person in front of you is going slower than you want to go, then you just quietly bypass them, right? And continue on your way. So because I've walked the labyrinth many times, I allowed most of the group to go ahead of me, right? And as soon as I stepped onto the path, I just felt this sense of peace and this sense of just like, everything's going to be okay. And I walked along the twists and the turns and the pattern, and I found myself getting lost in thought. But it was very comforting as I was going along. And after a while, I noticed that the lady in front of me had slowed way down. She was obviously in deep thought, but if I wasn't careful, I was going to walk right into the back of her, right? So I found myself getting kind of agitated. How rude of her that she's going so slow. This is in my mind, I didn't say it out loud. Doesn't she know that someone is behind her? I should just pass her, and I should give her one of those condescending passive-aggressive grins as I go by. This is while I'm on the path, right? But the lady in front of her is going pretty slow too, and what's wrong with these people? How rude can they be? I've got to get... Where? To the middle of the labyrinth? To contemplate and commune with the divine? Is it going somewhere? Perhaps the lesson, Reverend Dr. Pat Campbell, is to slow down and enjoy the journey. What's the hurry? So I slowed my pace way down, and I did not try to pass her, because I recognized again that she was simply on her path, and she was having her own experience, as was I. What it taught me in that moment was the value, once again, of patience. I am not a patient person. I'm an instant gratification person. I want to be in the center of the labyrinth, and I want to be there now. I want enlightenment now. But what I got from that experience, folks, is that things do indeed happen in the right and perfect time, in the right and perfect way. Just like the conference, it had to be moved several times to the frustration of those planners, and yet where it ended up was absolutely perfect. And my house did close escrow just a couple of days later. It was not a big problem. I did not need to stress and worry and try to push the river. It was unfolding as it should. Just like everything else that I have experienced in my life, and I've experienced frustration or I've experienced impatience, in the end, it all worked out just fine. Even though there were twists and turns on my road to getting there. So again, who we become as we traverse those twists and turns that are going to happen are every bit as much the point as getting to the destination. Ernest Holmes said this: the way to work is to begin right where we are, and through constantly applying ourselves to the truth, and you notice truth is with a capital T, so it's an aspect of the divine. Through constantly applying ourselves to the truth, we gradually increase in wisdom and understanding, for in this way alone will good results be obtained. If day by day we have a greater understanding and a clearer concept, if daily we realize more of the truth and apply it to our actions, then we are on the right path, and eventually we shall be made free. Life is a long and winding road. It's also a song. Mostly, it's life. And it is leading us right where we need to be. I'm happy to be back. It's wonderful to see you all. And so it is.